G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website and YouTube channel Kangaroo Court of Australia. Now, I've just published an article, it's self-explanatory, and the title is The Bondi Shooting Blame Game. Australian courts will decide, not politicians. And I published that article on Thursday, the 18th of December 2025, and it starts off, there's a huge blame game going on over who should have stopped the Bondi shootings. But with dozens and possibly hundreds of lawsuits for negligence over the Bondi shooting certain to happen, it is the courts who will decide who is responsible and for what. In this article, I will deal with some of the arguments the courts will hear, debated in any negligence court case. Evidence such as the government and Jewish leaders knew something like the Bondi massacre was going to happen, but failed to properly prepare. The location of the event, which gave the shooters every advantage to carry out the massacre, and the lack of police and security. But one argument that courts won't hear is that Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is responsible for the Bondi shootings because he failed to take enough action on anti-Semitism. And the reason you won't hear that in court is because if anyone ran that argument, they'd be laughed out of court. There's been a huge pile-on blaming Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, but he didn't organise the event, pick the location for the event, nor have a say in the security for the event. I'm no fan of Albanese, as regular readers know, and if he wants to resign, that'd be great. But he should resign over something he did do, not something he didn't do. The first port of call for responsibility for any death or injuries at any event is always the management and or organisers of the event. That seems to have been forgotten at this point, although the courts won't forget. The people who will likely sue are families of the deceased, people injured physically, and people with psychological or emotional trauma from the Bondi shooting. Likely targets of any negligence lawsuits are the organisers of the Hanukkah Jewish Festival, federal government, New South Wales State Government, and the Waverley Council. As you can see on screen now, the Waverley Council logo is on the flyer, which is in the middle right side, orange and blue logo, with Waverley under it, promoting the event, which possibly means they have to take some ownership of liability. Given it was a Waverley Council park, they should have public liability insurance, and so should the festival organisers. Government and Jewish leaders failed to prepare. On Monday, a current affair broadcast an interview titled Jewish Leader Warned of Bondi-like Attack with Alexander Rivchin, who is a co-chief executive officer of the Executive Council of Australian Jewry. Now, in the video, which I've embedded in the article, Alexander Rivchin makes some statements and admissions that are worth noting. He says at the 2-minute 20 mark, these people saw soft targets. They saw fish in a barrel, and they ploughed them down with hunting rifles. From the 3-minute 30 mark onwards, they talk about how they told the government, and at the 4-minute 12 mark, he says, we knew what was going to happen. We didn't expect the government to know, but we know through our experience. We showed the government, we told the government. Now, if you want to watch that video, just go to my website and click on that article, and the video is embedded in the article, and my article goes on to say, Alexander Rivchin will be a star witness at any negligence case. As he said, the Jewish community knew what would happen, and they told the government what would happen. The current affair even gave the video the title, Jewish Leader Warned of Bondi-like Attack, which says it all. Numerous politicians and others have been telling the media in the last few days that the government knew and were warned that something like the Bondi shooting would happen. Given that, some of them might also be called as witnesses in any court case. Location, the perfect kill zone. As Alexander Rivchin said in the above video, it was like shooting fish in a barrel for the killers. There were an estimated 1,000 people there, and they were in an open park with nowhere to hide. The shooters parked their car next to the overpass and only had to walk a few metres to an elevated position and start firing, which you can see in the picture I've got on screen now. The festival should have never been allowed to take place in the park. They say they knew something like the Bondi shooting would happen, yet they planned an event where 1,000 people had nowhere to hide to protect themselves. The killers chose the overpass as it was an elevated position. But if they couldn't use the overpass, there were 10 to 15 unit blocks across the road they could have used. And on screen now is a picture taken from a video on Sunday showing units across the road from the shooting that the killers could have also used for their attack. In one article I read where someone said if police were positioned at the overpass, the shooting wouldn't have happened. Given the shooters had so many options with all the units across the road, I think they would have just chosen another shooting location at one of the unit blocks and still gone ahead with their massacre. If the festival had taken place in a protected location, such as the Bondi Pavilion, which was only metres away and has brick walls surrounding it, then people might have still died, but the casualty numbers would have likely been a lot lower. Any security expert would have looked at the location and warned against having the festival there, as it was a killing zone waiting to happen, with dozens of elevated positions for terrorists to attack. So, did a security expert look at the site beforehand? And if not, why not? Why is it so important for shooters to have an elevated position? So they can better see their targets and also better see any threats such as the police. There were 1,000 people at the event and only 2 or 3 police, but the terrorists managed to take out 2 police early, which the elevated position would have helped them achieve. And that's why a festival at an open park with no protection for the public and dozens of protected and elevated sites for the terrorists around it was a perfect killing zone and should have never been allowed to take place. In any court case, the defendant, likely the state or federal government, is going to have to explain why they allowed the festival to take place in an obvious kill zone. Where was the security and all police? In the video I'm about to show you, former federal treasurer Josh Frydenberg, who was Jewish, is talking about Jewish armed guards as security for himself, his children at school, at sporting events and at aged care. But where was the Jewish armed guard security on Sunday at the Bondi shooting? And I'll show you that video now.
It's a question.
No, Sarah, the reality is this. I'm an Australian who has to have personal security because my life is endangered in this country, and I was the treasurer of this country. My children go to a school where there are armed guards outside. When I visit a Jewish aged care centre, there are armed guards outside. When I send my kids to Jewish sporting clubs, there are police cars out there and police tape.
In the full version of the video I just showed you, Josh Frydenberg asked why there were only 3 police patrolling at the festival with 1,000 people and says that needs investigating, which I agree. But he doesn't mention why the Jewish security weren't there and or failed to respond to the shooting. The Jewish community also have their own security business, Community Security Group, that supply armed guards for schools and aged care, etc. As pointed out by Josh Frydenberg. Where were they on Sunday is the question. Jewish leaders say they were warned that something like the Bondi massacre would happen, yet they seem to have failed to warn the victims, chose a location that was the perfect kill zone for terrorists, and failed to have armed guards at the event, even though they say they have armed guards at all Jewish schools and aged care, etc. There's a powerful prima facie case, with the evidence I've just gone through, for people to sue for negligence over the Bondi shooting, and they can likely choose between suing the federal, state or local governments and all the festival organisers. The Bondi Festival will be studied around the world as an example of how not to plan an event if you're expecting a possible attack. The Bondi shooting is a tragedy, and the first thing to do to make sure it never happens again is to make sure safe locations are chosen for future festivals. The main point I'm trying to make in this article is to say there are many issues that need to be discussed and decided in and out of court before we can draw final conclusions over many aspects of the Bondi shootings. So we should back off a bit before blaming people. Now, I'm an independent journalist and I've been running a campaign over the last 4 weeks trying to get more monthly subscribers, which I badly need, and I'll read that out to you. 4 weeks ago, I launched a campaign with a simple goal: find 200 new monthly supporters so I can keep doing this work as a fully independent journalist, running this site and the YouTube channel without corporate backing or paywalls. Since then, 41 wonderful people have stepped up and become monthly supporters. That's huge, thank you. We're now at 159 to go. If you've been enjoying the work and aren't yet supporting monthly, I'd be incredibly grateful if you consider joining them. Here's the situation. Like most independent journalists, I'm basically a one-person small business. Right now, a lot of us are feeling the squeeze, just like many small businesses and households are. To stay afloat and keep bringing you the reporting I do, I need roughly 200 more people, well, it's down to 159 now, chipping in whatever they can comfortably afford each month. Anything from $3 to $100 or whatever works for your budget makes a real difference. There's no lock-in and you can cancel or adjust at any time. If that feels doable right now, you can see all the donation options on the donations page on my website or below this video on YouTube. There's a link to the donations page. Your support, whether it's a monthly donation, one-off donation, or just sharing this work, is what keeps independent voices like this one alive. And please do your bit and help shine a light on corruption and share this video on social media. And please hit the like and subscribe button and notification button. That way you get notified when I publish new videos. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.